Welcome, everybody, to another Coaching to Flourish podcast. I am your host, John Andrew Williams. Today, I'm here with Erica Penner. Erica, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much. Excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you here. So you're a fellow Portlander, and you have a coaching practice. You finished the executive in February. It's a lot's happening in Portland right now these days. How are you hanging in there with everything?
Definitely. Oh my gosh, I feel like it's just one thing after another, but I was so thankful, most recently, that it rained over the weekend. Right. We've had all this smoke, and that has been crazy to experience. So, having the rain to clear it out has been wonderful. But yeah, I feel like not just Portland, but the whole US, we're dealing with a lot right now. And so it's good to take a breath, get some space and clarity when you can, and doing well.
Yeah, we had about a week of smoke as well in Hood River, so it's about an hour east. Mm-hmm. And it was hard to be in that, talk about lockdown, to be where you couldn't even go outside. We had to tape all the doors and windows and things like that. It was a lot. I guess the question is, in this arena, what have you learned about yourself recently in the last 2 or 3 weeks?
Oh gosh, I've learned that I don't do as well as I thought staying cooped up. I suppose, I suppose that's a given, but I had never experienced it to that extent. And I realized how, I'm the type of person that needs to go out for a walk and put my feet on the ground and just be outside. That's one of the reasons that Portland drew me to live here, is the outdoors. And so I learned that I need that more than I thought. But at the same time, there is that resiliency that comes up. There are tools and practices that you can put in place to help you navigate those tough times, even when they are compounding on each other. And it's just tough situation after tough situation. So yeah, I'd say in summary, that's what I've learned.
What's your favorite coaching tool?
Inner critic.
All right.
Although I will say that coaching there wouldn't be a powerful coaching conversation without level 2 listening. So I feel like that's a given. It's almost like you have to start there, and it's just so powerful in its simplicity. But inner critic is, especially in the work that I do with women, it just is so powerful when you can start to detach that inner dialogue of, negative thoughts and beliefs popping up all the time, and realizing, hey, that's not me. That's my inner critic, and I can relate to it in a different way. It's just so game changing when you bring that tool in and work through it with clients.
Absolutely. I feel like a lot of coaching, what it does is it takes things that are so close to people that they don't recognize it, and creates a little bit of space, and then asks questions that create insight based on that internal process that you're sharing with another person. Let's dive into the work. So you graduated from the executive in February. It's been half a year, 6 months now, a little less. Right about half a year. What's the, tell us about your practice.
Yeah, so if you go to my website, and the name of this webinar is I like to say that my job is to help women rise. And the way that I like to preface that is I empower ambitious women to rise up without burning out. And because of that, the beautiful thing about that term rising is that it means something so unique to every individual, and success means something different to each individual. So in my practice, my clients range from, millennials to baby boomers, from tech to photography to healthcare to finance, academia. So it applies to everybody. And what I find in my work, the 2 areas that I work with my clients the most on is first of all, creating that more aligned life, making sure that you have your values figured out, you're understanding your why, you're stepping into that more authentic version of your own life. And I call that sort of the rooting down, or the creating the foundation. And then the next piece is making the impact, making your unique impact on the world, helping that rising piece happen.
Sorry, I'm moist. Just
and the hey,
you're
Moist.
good. We need to have like a live, like a recording sign, like it's like a studio or something.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that.
Cool. Yeah, it's fun. I mean, we work for, it's like, you know, it's the new world. Like we work from home and everything is all in there.
Yeah.
So the rooting down, in the rooting process, what in, you know, where we are right now in this, what are you finding your clients, like what is it what's the common theme that you find your clients are yearning for?
I find that they're yearning for acceptance in the way that they want to do things, if that makes sense. So we're bombarded by social media and, you know, comparison to other people. And what I find with my clients, and really anybody, is those, you know, daydreams that come up where you're like, wouldn't it be cool if I could do this? Or wouldn't it be amazing if I could forget this part that brings me no joy and is draining, and bring more of this? Is that okay? And sort of creating that permission for themselves. I think that one of the, I see a couple common challenges that come up, but one of them that I see a lot is, I feel like we've forgotten how to trust ourselves. I think there's this erosion of self-trust that happens along the way of growing up that stops us from entertaining those thoughts, unless you bring in a coach or a support system that you can work through that. So, yeah.
I mean, really, that's what the education system is designed to do. It's designed to condition you to trust authority and to be able to follow directions to a certain T in order to get like a certain grade. That's what it means. Designed to create soldiers and factory workers. I think that is the express purpose of our current system. It's changing, and there's a lot of good things happening in education, but what you're saying rings so true to what the education system was designed to do. Is exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, I would completely agree. And the thing, especially for women, that was my experience, and I talk with other women, and it seems like it's their experiences. We're almost conditioned for this good student persona, where you know, don't disrupt, don't challenge authority. Here's the structure. Here's how you get an A, and then go ahead and do that. Stay within that closed system. Don't promote yourself. Likability is the most important thing. And that can just create this environment where, you know, perfectionism comes into play, or this interesting relationship between risk versus safety, and how that might play out differently between men and women. And so, yeah, that's something that I see a lot. And that's why, excuse me, for example, women, you know, they'll see a job posting and they won't apply unless they meet 100% of the criteria, because that's part of that sort of conditioning of got to check all the boxes to get the A grade.
Wow. I imagine doing the work you do, you see just incredible transformation in people. What do you see as the tipping point, or the point, you know, when you're working with a client and you as a coach feel that shift?
Oh. I wonder if there's one tipping point, or if it's just this accumulation of these insights and these awarenesses that are created throughout the whole process, and it just creates this snowball effect. I think about the thing that gets me so excited is I feel like in the work we do as coaches, we're changing the freaking world. Like if I can empower a woman to go after her dreams and, you know, start a nonprofit, disrupt an industry, go travel the world, whatever it is, she then empowers everybody in her circle to do the same thing. And it's just this beautiful butterfly effect. And so if I could show up to a coaching session with that in my mind, it's so exhilarating. But to answer your tipping point question, I think it's when there's enough insight that's created where the permission to go after their dreams is there. They're not trying to talk themselves out of it. They understand the role of the inner critic. They understand the role that doubt plays, and they can still hold that, be in that discomfort, acknowledge it, and still move forward.
That's awesome. Yeah, this idea of permission is so powerful. Like, when do people give themselves allow themselves to be their own authority in their lives? It seems like, it's a pretty big deal. Every client, trying to think back. I think that's what coaching is literally designed to do. Like, it's designed to help put people into the authority. Like, oh yeah, like, let me take responsibility for all of it in a supportive environment and see what comes out of it. Where do you see the ideas or field of coaching evolving over the next couple of years?
So I'm sure you hear this a lot, but my perception of coaching before I came to really understand it was honestly not great. I didn't get it. I thought it was like, oh, you didn't have the chops to become a therapist, or you took a 2-week course online and you're calling yourself a coach, and whatever other perceptions might come up with the term life coach. But once I dipped my toe into it, I couldn't. It was just so impactful that I couldn't not just dive in so deep. And now I have my own coaching practice, and if I look back at where I was a year ago between where I was now, it's like night and day. But I think the perception of the coaching industry is going through this transformation where people are understanding that it's not somebody that's going to hand you 10 strategies on how to get more clients, or it's not somebody who's going to sit there and give you advice. That's absolutely not what coaching is. And I didn't even realize that until like class 1 of my coach training. Right. And I was like, wait, what? I don't tell them what to do at all. So I think there's this perception evolution that's going on. And the other thing that is so exciting to me is that, often you hear coaches, as they're starting their new practice, they're like, oh, I feel like there's only so many clients to go around. Will I be taking a potential client away from another coach? And I think it's not that at all. It's this idea that we are creating clients as we go on. We're not taking from anybody else. We're creating this. And so that's helping with the perception evolution, and it's helping with other people understanding what this profession really is. And it's not this thing that maybe people think of at the beginning when you say you're a coach. It's something beautiful and wonderful and exciting.
Yeah, it is way different. It's not like life coaches are experts in life and somehow we're helping other people. Like, we have our stuff all perfectly together, and here's a blueprint. It's not life mentorship. It definitely is life coaching. What I've boiled down to, like, one way of looking at coaching is we're helping people make better decisions. And that's it, and decisions. I mean, if you look at the number of decisions that we make in a day, do I do my morning routine, or do I just dive right in? Do I go exercise, or do I skip it? Do I do that thing, or do I not do that thing?
Yes.
I think that there are but I feel like decisions are one of the most underrated aspects. Like, when someone thinks of their day, they go, oh, I wonder, like, what decisions do I have to make today? It's like, I don't think people think in terms of decisions. When you apply that idea or perspective to your practice, what comes up? What comes up for you in your work?
So many things. So I completely agree. Making better decisions is absolutely part of the coaching space. And what I find is when I go through, we together with my client will come up with something that will be added to their routine, or something that's going to trigger a reminder for them to check in with themselves or to do something. And the minute process of doing that, they're just like, whoa, I've never done this before. I just, throw it on my to-do list, and then it stays there, and maybe it'll go out of my mind. But if you build in this trigger of like, how do you feel in your body? Or like, what, is it a piece of jewelry that you wear? Is it something that you stick on your fridge? Whatever it is. It just makes it more automated, and that gives you the ability to follow through. And it's I'm sure you've heard of decision fatigue. It's built in. You don't have to think about it, and that just allows you to have more brain space to do other things that you're passionate about. And that's why, on a separate note, social media is so powerful, because it's those triggers have been built in automatically on the other side of it. So you're like, oh, I'm just going to pick up my phone. I'll get my dopamine hit. I'll get that notification. And it's the same idea for coaching, but you're empowering yourself instead of being a victim of sort of the reactive version of what social media can do.
It's almost like it's fascinating, this idea of permission and exploration and curiosity. I think one thing I see coming up for a number of people, and a lot of my friends are also coach trained, we've been talking about this lately, but the idea of there's an increased need to escape given all of the stress and pressure and everything that's happening. Yet there's also an increased benefit if you don't. Like if you're able to stay engaged and really leaning into giving, like, instead of jumping into something, like giving just a 30-second break, like 3 deep breaths, like the 3 deep breath rule. It goes totally what you're talking about with social media and all the distractions that we can jump into to get that dopamine so we feel comfortable again.
Yeah, that's the comfort discomfort paradigm is also very interesting. And it plays
how willing are you able to be uncomfortable, to get what you're after for the sake of others? Like, that's the question. That is the big question. Where did you grow up? How did you get into coaching, and how did you get where you are now? Let's start from the beginning. Yeah.
Yep. The beginning. The beginning in a nutshell is I was born in Cairo, raised in the UK, and came to school in the US in Oregon. And now I'm still in Oregon 10 years later. So I occasionally refer to myself as a type A yogi. So like, I am the productive planner, like list maker, spreadsheets everywhere, Post-it notes. That is very much my personality in that, and I excelled in the school environment because it's almost like you get rewarded for that. And so I really became this sort of straight A student, and my worth, my value was tied up a lot in that. And then I started discovering mindfulness and yoga. I got my yoga teacher training a couple years ago, and I've started combining those two sides of my brain together. And the piece that I kept finding was coming up after I left school and I entered the workforce, is I would have these bouts of angst. I would be like, I got to figure everything out. I need a list that's going to tell me what to do so that I can move forward, and I'll know exactly how to do it, and there won't be fear of failure or like not knowing. I think that comes up a lot, especially with some of the clients that I work with, is this idea that if you are not completely optimizing the time that you have, you're wasting it. And so I wanted to know, how do I make sure to not waste it? And so I'd be reading all these books on personal development and like how to live a good life and productivity and wellness and well-being. And so eventually what happened is, we were talking about distracting from the discomfort earlier. And I do that myself all the time, or I used to all the time. And I found myself in one of those bouts of angst again. And I was like, oh, maybe I need to go to grad school. Maybe that's the answer. And so I was going down that rabbit hole. And what was really funny is that I had 4 friends in different parts of my life in the span of about a month. They all said to me, you would make a great coach. And I was like, what does that even mean? I had never entertained that, and I didn't really understand it. But by the 4th person, I was like, I gotta check this out. So then I started doing my research and went down that rabbit hole, and I couldn't figure out, do I go to grad school? That seems more prestigious, and that seems more like, more respectable. Or do I try this life coaching thing? And it wasn't until I had a session with a coach that was so freaking mind-blowing that I was like, I signed up for CTEDU 3 days later. I was like, I've got to get in on this. And so that was a little over a year ago, and I haven't looked back.
Oh, that's awesome. That's how I got into it too. I was a guinea pig for a class, and I got coached first and thought, this is amazing. Like, why wasn't I having this conversation when I was 12? Like, you know what I mean? Like, why aren't we coaching people when they're little? But
totally.
Wow. That's so cool. So where in Portland are you?
I'm in North Portland, kind of by St. John's.
Okay. Yeah, we lived in Hollywood on 36th and US Grant, like across the street from Grant High School.
Nice. My now husband used to live there before he got married.
All right. Yeah, we lived there for 10 years. Portland's lovely. I mean, it really is. It's a great community. It's a really strong community. How are you finding your clients? So how did you get to your first handful of clients?
Yeah, so I had a wellness blog. It was just sort of my thoughts, because I had no direction. I was like, here are things that I think are interesting. And so I had a newsletter that I was curating for a couple of years before I found coaching. And so my first round of pro bono clients while I was training came directly from my newsletter. I was like, hey, I'm doing this thing. If you want to try it out, let's do some coaching. And it just, it grew from there. So from that circle, I got my first few paid clients, and then referrals start happening. And then one thing that was kind of a game changer for me is I follow a fellow coach in Portland, actually. Her name is Andrea Lita, and she does what she calls the People First Project. And I ran my own version of that. I went through her program to figure out how she did it. And I called mine the Root to Rise program, and that's now a program that I have in my practice. But the idea is that you are gifting a coaching experience with no obligation, and you're there to support and show up and provide a powerful experience. And it's all a referral invitation only. And so what I did was I had something like 20 conversations in 30 days, and I had about five clients come out of that. So that's a really great project. And it goes to the root of the whole idea of a coach is to show up and serve. And there's a little bit of a push-pull between sort of the sales and the get client piece versus like I just want to do the work piece. And I thought that was a beautiful way to marry them. And like I said, it has grown from there. I will say that, everybody does it differently. There's no secret. And, you can have a website. You don't need one. You can have ClickFunnels or take all the marketing trainings. You don't need them.
Right.
The way that clients are created is in powerful conversations. It's not created from an email, not created from an ad. They are created inside a powerful conversation. So if you can create powerful conversations, you will create clients.
That's well said. What advice would you give to a coach just starting out?
So many things. Charge more than you think is one. Treat any pro bono clients like paid clients. Have them sign a service agreement, and have them show up to do the work. And trust the process. The most powerful sessions I've had with clients are when I could successfully shut down my own chatter, my own expectations of what I thought the client, whether if they were getting enough value out of a session. If you just shut that off, that's where the magic happens. It's when you lean into the process, that is exactly how those powerful experiences happen.
I remember a few very painful sessions when I was just beginning to coach and learn coaching tools. I went to a workshop, Oxbow Park in Portland, but this is when I was teaching in Southern Oregon. And it was for all new teachers, right? And I was teaching Latin at St. Mary's in Southern Oregon at the time. It was my first year teaching. And I went and I had all these, these brand new teachers. And I just was really new to the coaching process. And I got all these sample sessions and I was like a little puppy dog. And then I did maybe 4 or 5 sample sessions. And they were the most terrible, painful sample sessions I think I've ever given in my entire life. It was horrible. They were horrible. What I was trying to do, I was trying to figure out a problem I could solve that would be worth them signing up for coaching. So it's I was problem hunting to try to get see, coaching is worth it. It works. It will help you solve this problem, make this decision. And it just fell flat. It just made me I remember literally that day I had 3 in a row and it was horrible, horrible, horrible. When did you get over that? At what point in the program? Because obviously you're beyond it. But when did it click for you to let go of I need to, prove the worth of coaching through a very clever problem hunting solving session?
I got glimpses of it throughout the training. I think it really hit home when I was in the group mentor training. Mm-hmm. And that's such a powerful way to learn, is to have multiple people listening in on a recording and saying, you could try this, or this was great, or here's an opportunity. And I think in the recording, one of them that I submitted, I really just, I dropped those expectations on myself, and it's almost like you don't trust it until it happens, and it happened. So I was like, oh, this is so much, there's so much more ease here. And then there's more impact that is had. And so I still think this about coaching. Sometimes when you are doing it really well, when you're showing up as a coach in the way that, as you're trained, as the ICF indicates, it's almost like you're like, wait, I can get paid for this, because it's if you lean into it, it can really be easy. It can really be, I'm trying to think of another word for that, but easy doesn't quite capture it, but it's simple in conception, and it's simple in practice, as long as you get out of your head, which, going back to the self-trust piece, is easier said than done. It takes a little bit of practice.
I find it deeply fulfilling and nearly effortless when in that space, the space you're talking about. And I think the fulfillment comes from knowing how deeply you're connecting with another person in a way that truly is empowering them, and they are discovering things about themselves in real time. And I don't know anything more fulfilling than being in that space of self-discovery with someone else, holding space for that and being able to witness and see them grow. Is yeah. It's I get
You
the
nailed
you're
it.
the feeling like I was born for this. Like this is the work that I was born to do. And like here I am doing the most important thing I could be doing in this lifetime at this moment. Like that's the feeling.
It's absolutely that. And I think effortless is the word I was searching for. So thank you. But yeah, the fulfillment is so incredible. And I take my coaching sessions from inside of our guest bedroom, and I'll just walk out of the bedroom and just like basically do a little dance down the hallway, like, yeah, that was awesome. And it just, there's so much energy that comes from it. And people are asking like, are you just like really busy, and how do you have time or the energy for coaching sessions? And I'm like, no, those are the energy givers. Those are the things that make me, that are so exhilarating and add to my cup instead of drain it.
Right. So I used to live, so when we lived in, Northeast, and then I used to go to the coffee shop down like Oswego, and then used to go to a coffee shop on near the zoo, like on the west side. So I had all these different, different days of the week. I was in different places of the city, right? And I would listen to my vision recording on repeat, both to and from client sessions when I was meeting with students. Mm-hmm. And so I would go over the Marquand Bridge, like so emotional, like feeling like I had just had three to four coaching sessions. I had listened to my vision recording like 5 times in a row. It's like, just feeling like life, over that bridge, that beautiful bridge of, I-5, it's just just the visceral feeling of the conversations I know I'm having right now change the course of this life. I know it without a doubt. Like there's, with no ego, it's just, that is what happened. What are what structures you have that feed you around the coaching sessions?
Oh, I'm a big advocate of journaling. So I have a good journaling practice I'll do every morning. And I almost think of that as a self-coaching tool. Nice. And then I have my own coach. I think, it's so important to, be a product of your product, if you will. So that is a big part of my life as well. And then I talked about this in my journey, but I didn't illustrate it as much as it really was a reality, but I was such a busy bee. I would fill my schedule so much, and I would thrive on that. I would thrive on being so busy all the time. And it wasn't until I would pause that I would have those bouts of angst and like, what am I going to do with my life? And so part of my nourishment and what feeds me outside of coaching sessions is that space to, do yoga or go for a walk or just not having anything scheduled and have space to be. I know that's so simple, but it's almost like we don't let ourselves do that because there's always something we could be doing or learning or seeing or experiencing. And those moments to just be are very nourishing for me, at least.
Nice. Erica, it's been a pleasure to have this conversation, share your story with the community. How can anyone listening to this podcast, this community, what's the best way to get in touch with you or follow up if they want to work with you?
Yeah, the best way is my website. So it's ericagiselle.com, ERICAGISELLE.com. Or you can send me an email at connect@ericagiselle.com. So that's probably the best way.
We'll put it in a blog too. We'll get this posted up there and make it easy for people to find you. Erica, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for being a part of this community and for sharing your story. I know that it is a thing for new coaches to get to those first 5 clients. That's a challenging, I feel like that's the hardest part. And once you're there, like you said, all the referrals start coming in, like you get more confident at it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. I know it's going to be motivating for a lot of people. And thank you people who are
Yeah.
listening.
And
Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, I was just going to throw out a resource that I found really helpful is the book called Prosperous Coach is really helpful as you're starting your practice.
That's awesome. Thanks, people who are listening live, and thanks for everyone who's listening to this podcast. Again, my name is John, and this has been a Coaching to Flourish edition for Coach Train EDU podcast. Thanks, everyone.